Hey everybody, it's Lo and welcome back to my channel, Lo Without Limits. This video is a gluten-free bread taste test and review, so if you want to see that, then just keep watching. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lo and I have a gluten-free diet. And also if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe down below. But for this video, it is a gluten-free bread taste test and review. A few years ago when I was gluten-free, the bread options were pretty limited. I feel like it was just UDI'S, it had to be stuck in the freezer, it was expensive for these little mini loaves, and I had to go so far out of my way to a Whole Foods to buy this bread. And now there are so many different options and brands, and it's available almost everywhere and at a reasonable price as well. So for this video is going to be a compilation of me and these different loaves of bread over the next few weeks. I will edit it all together for you guys, and the reason I'm doing it over a few weeks is because it's just me and I can't be having like 6 loaves of bread that are all gonna expire at the same time. Would not be good. But what I will do is show you guys different breads, where you can find them, what the price is, the nutritional value, how much bread you're getting, other things about the bread, as well as 2 taste tests. So the first taste test that I will do for each bread is an avocado toast, just to see how the bread toasts. And I do have a toaster oven instead of a regular toaster, and how it holds up with an avocado toast with a nice egg on top. And then the second taste test will be a sandwich test, because a lot of the times when you think of sandwiches, you think of taking them to school. Are they gonna hold up, especially if it's for your child that maybe you're packing their lunch for? So this test, I will be making a tuna sandwich, and I will be doing it a few hours before I film the review. I will have it in my refrigerator all made so we can see, one, how does the sandwich hold up, especially with tuna. I have some mayo and some mustard in there. So I feel like some gluten-free breads get really soggy really quickly. So if the mayo in there starts making the sandwich all soggy and it's hard to eat the sandwich because the bread's starting to fall apart, you may have failed that taste test. So those are the 2 tests that I will be putting it through, as well as all the different review categories. So I will be keeping track of them, and at the very end, I will show you guys my final decision on the bread. And of course, if you guys have other gluten-free breads that I may miss through this little test, be sure to leave them down below in the comments. But let's get started with the very first bread. So the first bread I'm going to share in this taste test and review is Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free. I bought the heritage style whole grain bread. I bought it at Gelson's, but I looked online and it is also available at Walmart's, Target's, Albertsons, Sprouts, Vaughn's, Ralph's, basically any grocery store, so you don't have to go out of your way and try to find a Whole Foods to get it. And this loaf of bread, when I bought it, was about $6. They didn't give me the receipt, so I don't remember off the top of my head. And I like this one. Canyon Bakehouse does have some smaller loaves, but I like that these are wider slices of bread. And it has about 16 slices per package. Each slice is about 100 calories, 2 grams of fat, 18 grams of carbs, and 2 grams of protein. And these are not vegan, but they are gluten-free and dairy-free, but because they contain egg, not suitable for vegans. So let's get started on those taste tests. Like I said at the beginning, the 2 taste tests that I will put all of these different loaves of bread through are the avocado toast taste test and the sandwich taste test, to see how well this bread can last. So first up, the avocado toast. Now this piece was kind of like the butt of the bread, so it does have a bit more crust than the other pieces, but for the most part, it's not a very crusty bread. The crunch around the edge is perfect. I do like this toast a lot. And now the sandwich taste test. Again, I just did a tuna sandwich because it's easier, and I just wanted to see how it holds up in the refrigerator after being in there and made for hours, especially with mayo, to see if the bread falls apart. And this toast, or this bread, I did not toast. The loaf of bread you do find in a refrigerated section of the grocery store. So I do keep the loaf of bread in my refrigerator, but I did not toast this bread at all to warm it up. So it does feel a bit softer because it does have the moisture in it from the mayo, from cucumber, from everything else. So we'll see how it holds up after a couple bites. I do like that they are wide slices though, so you can get a pretty big sandwich for those 100 calories, versus some gluten-free breads are very, very skinny loaves. And it's just like, is this my sandwich? Anyway, let me try this one now. It's good, but like many gluten-free breads, it did get a bit soft almost. If you can tell, it's very doughy because it was a made sandwich in the refrigerator, which is a lot of the problems with a lot of gluten-free breads. So that is with this one. If I find one that doesn't happen with, then that would probably be the best sandwich making gluten-free bread. But for this one, it's still good. It's holding up for the most part, but it is getting a bit just kind of squishy, which I find is a really, really common issue with gluten-free bread. So that is my review of Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free bread. Of course, again, this is the heritage style whole grain bread. So that is my review for this one, and let's get started on the next one. The next bread that I am going to go over is the UDI'S gluten-free delicious multi-grain sandwich bread. This I also got at Gelson's for $6.49, which I believe is a little bit cheaper than the Canyon Bakehouse one, my first bread. So there is this one also, and it is more so just a white bread in comparison to the last one. And also, these are some very small loaves, just about the size of my palm. Granted, I feel like I have fat hands, but that's still pretty small for some bread. Let's go over the nutritional value. So it says that a serving is 2 slices and that there's about 7 servings in here. So if you were to make a sandwich, then you can make a week of sandwiches with this bread. Each serving, so for these 2 little slices, which is probably like 1 regular size slice, is 140 calories, 5 grams of fat, 23 grams of carbs, and 2 grams of protein. And it is wheat and dairy free, but it does have eggs. So again, not a vegan one. So this one, again, and then I looked online and I got it at Gelson's, but it was also showing up on the store locator at a bunch of Walmarts. It wasn't showing anywhere else like Target, Ralph's, any like regular grocery stores. And then it also said Amazon and something else online, but then both were also out of stock online. So maybe it's available through Instacart. I'm not really sure, I've never really used Instacart, but it is available at Gelson's and Walmart for $6.49. Probably even a little bit cheaper if you were to go to Walmart and get it. But anyway, I have made my 2 tests that I do. So here is the avocado toast, again, because it is so small. I had a pretty, not a big avocado, but like about a medium-sized avocado, and I didn't even use half of the avocado to mash onto this toast, and then, so maybe like a third of the avocado, and it's still really overflowing on there. So let's see how it tastes though, all together. Still good. It did toast well in my toaster oven, but it's just tiny. And again, the sandwich test, so if you wanted to buy a gluten-free bread to pack for school or for work as a sandwich, how will it last in your lunchbox or in the work refrigerator? It is doughy, like the last one, but it's not falling apart, which is good, so it does stay together, but it's small. So this wasn't even half a can of the tuna, so it wouldn't be the most filling sandwich if that's what you wanted to do for your lunch. But to me, it has like a weird taste, almost like a strange aftertaste. And I know it's not the tuna, it's definitely the bread, I believe. Let me just, so the second ingredient, the first ingredient is water. The second ingredient is pea starch, and I definitely taste the pea. It's, if you guys have ever had pea protein or like a vegan protein and it has like a little pea aftertaste, definitely the same aftertaste and flavor to this bread. But overall, it's a good bread for the price, and it is available at Walmart's. I'm sure it's even cheaper at Walmart's if you're going gluten-free and want to save a little bit of money, but just know that you are getting a very, very small loaf for the cost. All right, and now on to the next bread. All right, so this week's bread, I am biased because it is my favorite, but it is the Little Northern Bakehouse delicious whole grain wide slice gluten-free bread. I love it because these slices are pretty big here in comparison to other ones, and the only issue with it though is that for both this zip code and my parents' zip code, when I put in both to see what the store finder was, only available at Sprouts Farmers Markets. So that's where I picked this one up, which really sucks because I don't shop at Sprouts all the time, because I find like sometimes I spend a bit too much money at Sprouts, and there's not a Sprouts that's a super close location to me to where I could swing by and pick up my bread when I run out. which is why I go to other grocery stores. But if I had the chance to get this whenever I wanted, I definitely would, because it is my favorite and it's in the refrigerated section near all the other breads. And this one, unlike some of the other ones, is completely vegan, I believe, yes. And for this, it says that there's about 8 servings per container, and each serving size is 2 slices, so about 16 slices. And for those 2 slices, it is 170 calories, total fat 3.5 grams, total carbs 35 grams, and 1 gram of protein. And this one was $4.99. I think sometimes it's like $5.50, but it might have been on sale. So a little bit cheaper as well. So $4.49 for some pretty wide slices too. It's a 20-ounce bag if you get the wide slice one. So I'm going to do the taste test now, although I've gotten this bread so many times, I know I like it, but for the purpose of this video, I have my avocado toast. I did a really bad job with the egg this time around. It kind of exploded. And this is like the end piece, like the very beginning piece, so it's the smallest one. And it's still pretty big, like this large egg and half of a large avocado covered it up. I love this bread so much. And for the sandwich test, so I made this morning 4 or 5 hours ago. It's been in my refrigerator. Again, a tuna sandwich. How the other ones, you can like poke down and they were very like Play-Doh-y and mushy. This one, I don't know if it's just because it's been sitting out and not wrapped. It did get a bit drier, which was the only downside, but I'm sure if you had like more sauces on there, let's see, like the bottom one where the lettuce and cucumber and all that is a bit softer than this top one. So it might be because I didn't have a ton of mayo in the tuna this time around that, well, the inside's quite soft, but the top got pretty hard. So quite the opposite of the 2 previous breads, but I'm going to give it a taste test. Because the top one's dry, I did have to chew it a bit more, but at the same time, if you like that crunch of like a toasted bread, which for some gluten-free breads, especially like frozen ones, you do have to toast anyway. I didn't toast the bread for the sandwich at all, but it has a very similar crunch to like a slight toasting. But the one on the bottom is soft, so it's just the top piece. I think the way it kind of like sat in the refrigerator, it started to curl up, and because of that, it didn't suck out any of the moisture from the sandwich like the last 2 have, where I feel like that moisture just like quickly seeped through the bread and made the whole bread very Play-Doh-y. But that is it. That is the taste test this time around. The next bread I'm going to talk about is SCHAR gluten-free artisan baker multi-grain bread. This is a new and improved formula. I'm not sure when they changed it. I haven't bought it in a while, but a few years ago when I was eating gluten-free and living at home, so I would be able to shop at Sprouts all the time, this was one of the first gluten-free breads that I found that wasn't a frozen gluten-free bread, because I never really liked those. And then I moved, I kind of stopped eating gluten-free bread altogether. I was just not needing bread really. And then when I did start getting bread again, I started to get the little Northern Bakehouse bread. But this was one of the original gluten-free breads that I absolutely loved. And the new and improved formula does mean it's a little bit wider. It's still pretty small bread, and it's a little bit thicker per slice. So you are getting a bit more bread in comparison to its old formula. So that's what I've noticed in this bag versus when I've gotten it years ago. And this bread you can keep out. It doesn't need to be refrigerated at all until you open it. So once you open it, then throw it in the refrigerator, but it's fine on the counter until the date on the bag. So for this one, it's actually in a few months. So it lasts a really long time on the counter if you buy a bunch and then don't eat it right away. I bought this at Sprouts for $5.99, so a little bit more than the Little Northern Bakehouse bread that I've also bought at Sprouts, but this one is available in a lot more places. So I put it into the zip code of my home, and it shows up at Albertsons, Stater Brothers, Walmart, Vons, of course Sprouts, and Food 4 Less, Ralph's, almost anywhere, and it's also on Thrive Market. So this one is available almost everywhere. Now for the nutritional facts on this one, it is a bit higher in calories. So each container is 6 servings, which is 2 slices of bread. So there's about 12 slices in here, which is also a little bit less than the last few. And for those 2 slices, it is 160 calories, 1.5 grams of fat, 35 grams of carbs, and 2 grams of protein. So that is that for this bread. So I'm going to start off with the avocado toast, and this is the very first slice in the loaf, so it is the smallest one, and the avocado that I used was just half of a pretty big avocado. So it's good. It is, again, one of my favorites. So of course I love the Little Northern Bakehouse one, but this is my like OG gluten-free bread, so I do love it, and I do love this new formula because it means you get a little bit more bread than you're used to. And then for the sandwich test, so I pinched it again, and this one, very similar to the last one, is drier on the top. So there isn't as much like that Play-Doh-y pull to it. It's a lot drier and just kind of like falls apart. And then same with the bottom. So the last one, the top was dry because it was just exposed to the refrigerator, but the bottom was a bit soft because of the veggies and because of the tuna like sitting on it for those few hours. But I've had this in the refrigerator for about 5 hours. I made it earlier this morning, and now it's a bit in the afternoon, and it's still pretty dry on both sides. So definitely a plus, I believe, when it comes to sandwiches, because you don't want to get to your sandwich later in the day and it's a soggy mess. Very good. I do love the thicker slices. I feel like that helped give it a better sandwich texture, like how you would have with regular not gluten-free bread. The only thing with this one though is that it doesn't have eggs, so it is also a vegan bread, but it does have soy. So if you have any issues with soy and you don't like soy for any reason, or you have a bad reaction to soy, then this one I would stay away from. But other than that, that is the SCHAR gluten-free bread. So today is the last gluten-free bread review. The one I'm going to review is Food for Life gluten-free bread, the brown rice kind. They did have multiple kinds, different varieties, but I decided to go with the brown rice one because when I looked on the back of the few that were available that weren't like a flavored one like cinnamon raisin, this one did have the least amount of ingredients. So this I picked up at Whole Foods for about $5.49 or $5.59, I can't remember, which is one of the cheaper breads, I believe, but it's frozen. So am I mad about that? Yeah, I hate it. It's pretty rough. But besides Whole Foods, you can pick it up at Albertsons, Stater Bros, Walmart. That's all it looks like. And I went to Whole Foods thinking, oh, Whole Foods, they have like the most healthy stuff. They have like a big variety of like healthy, gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, like all these different things. So I thought they would have a really good variety of gluten-free breads, and I was very disappointed. They had UDI'S, Rudy's, and this one, and they were all in the freezer section. None of them are refrigerated, and none of them just out on the shelves, all freezer, which, like I said, I hate. So I did say though that this is no, I did not say it, but I will say it right now. This is a vegan one. There's no eggs, so this is a vegan gluten-free bread if you are also vegan. For this though, just one slice is 110 calories, 2.5 grams of fat, 19 grams of carbs, and 2 grams of protein. So a bit higher up on that in comparison to other breads, which were more calories, but for 2 slices. This is just for 1 slice. And one of these slices, very similar to UDI'S, is very, very small, just about the size of my palm. So this whole little package is 24 ounces and it's about 16 slices. And then again, this morning I made myself a tuna sandwich, and then I have the avocado toast. So I'm gonna give this one a go. So because it was frozen, I had the hardest time getting these like slices off. I don't know if you can see, I don't know if it'll focus, but I was trying to like dig and like just, because it's sliced, and I was trying to like kind of get between the slices and like wiggle it around without like breaking the bread in half or stabbing myself. And in doing so, I did actually chip off the tip of this knife. I don't even know if you can tell. I'm gonna do like a makeup blogger. Anyway, so I took that off, and yesterday I already gave my mom my Christmas list, and now I got to add knives to that because this one's broken. Let's go in with this bread. So unlike many others though, maybe because it's frozen, so I had to put it in the toaster oven just for kind of a while because it's frozen. Let it get unfrozen just to like a regular bread consistency. And then it was a bit soft when I was putting it together as a sandwich, and it got harder again in the refrigerator. So unlike the other ones that some would pinch almost like a dough, this one does not. It is a small rock. So let's see how it tastes though. I'm trying to eat it. Bit of some work. It is a bit on the denser side. but it almost tastes, at least this brown rice one, again, there were a few different kinds. There was like some black rice one, I don't even know. But I got the brown rice one. It almost tastes like sourdough, which I love. Like, I love sourdough. If it weren't for being gluten-free, my sourdough addiction would be not good for me, for my health. It would not be good for my heart physically, but it would be good for my heart emotionally. I love sourdough. So it does taste like sourdough, which I love. Love sourdough to where it's an issue. The only thing though is that it's frozen and hard to chew and tiny, and it was frozen. I also made the avocado toast, and this I just left it in the toaster a little bit longer, but then it started to take so long to like actually look toasted like other toast does. So I took it out so it doesn't look like super golden as if it were toasted, but I mean, it's like the density of toast, I suppose. Again, love the taste. Now I do wish I toasted it longer, because I think from like the avocado and egg sitting on it just for like the 10 minutes that it took me to set up my camera, it's like a bit soggy. It's honestly softer than the sandwich. Even though this was toasted a little bit longer and it's like fresher, I don't know, the sandwich, maybe because it's been sitting in the refrigerator for like 6 hours already, that it just like got hard. Whereas this one's more freshly toasted. This one is softer, but it's toasted longer. Again, love the sourdough taste. Big fan. As one of my favorite gluten-free breads, not so much. That is the final review of the final bread. So now time for the final review, and I'm gonna try to do it quickly because daylight saving happened and now the sun's setting early and this lighting isn't looking great. So really quickly, out of the 5 breads that I did, Canyon Bakehouse, UDI'S, Little Northern Bakehouse, SCHAR's, and Food for Life. My order of favorites are, number 1, Little Northern Bakehouse. They are bigger slices. It's $5.49, which is a little on the cheaper side. I just love how big it is. They toast well. You can do a nice avocado toast, a nice sandwich. I think it lasts so well. The only issue is that it's only available at Sprouts. So the availability thing, if you're like not close to a Sprouts, like how I'm not, so I don't get it all the time, is the one thing that I'm like, but other than that, like my all-time favorite gluten-free bread. Number 2, Canyon Bakehouse. It is a little bit more expensive, about 50 cents more, but again, toasts really well, does everything, and it is available at more places. So honestly, maybe even that one's number 1. That one and Little Northern Bakehouse are tied. Of course, Canyon Bakehouse, you can get it more places, but I do like the taste of Little Northern Bakehouse a little bit more. So definitely try them both out. If you're close to a Sprouts, get a Little Northern Bakehouse. If you're close to anywhere else, Canyon Bakehouse. Both great bakehouses. Number 3, SCHAR's. Also available at Sprouts among many other places. It is a little bit smaller though, and it is $5.99. So the same cost as Canyon Bakehouse, but you're getting 10 less ounces. More available, and you don't have to like keep it refrigerated, so it's available on the shelf, and then once you open it, you refrigerate it. So I do think that's really good for it lasting a little bit longer in comparison to other gluten-free breads that don't last super well. Number 4, I'm going to go with this final bread, Food for Life. I like it because it is available at more places and it is a bit still on the cheaper side. Again, $5.49, and I love the taste. Like the sourdough taste really gets me. My only thing is how it didn't hold really well as a sandwich and then did like the opposite for the toast. So like they were a little bit hard, and I think that is because it is frozen. It says also once you open it to keep it frozen or refrigerated. So maybe if I were to open it and just like leave it in my refrigerator now and like kind of let it defrost, but then I feel like it would get soggy as like the ice crystals start to defrost. I don't know. I could try it out, I don't know. But yeah, so that's number 4, and only because UDI'S is number 5. It's available only at Gelson's and Walmart, so not a lot of places. It's $6.49, which is the most expensive of breads, and you're only getting 12 ounces, which is nothing. Again, they're even smaller than this Food for Life one, very, very tiny little loaves. And again, doesn't toast well, just not my favorite. So that is number 5, is UDI'S, which is weird because it's like one of the first gluten-free breads I've ever had. That is it for this gluten-free bread review. I hope you found it helpful and insightful, especially if you are going gluten-free. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave down in the comments what your favorite gluten-free breads are, what else you want to see me review, and just what else you want to see here on my channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. I upload a new video every Wednesday. So until the next one, thanks for watching.